the Animal Welfare Bill. First, can I acknowledge officials and fellow Primary Production Committee members to help us get us to this stage, Mr Chairman. Also acknowledge Simon Bridges, MP for Tauranga, who's kind of the origin of this bill with his original discussions of Private Members Bill. But also, I think we should celebrate, if you like, the way that what evolved from that idea by the time discussions had, the Minister, Honourable David Carter, picked it up, became a government bill, went to committee, and the Primary Production Committee brought another element and view to what Mr Bridges' original intentions were, made it fit to New Zealand's primary production or primary scene probably a little bit better, with the help of many submitters that came along to the committee. If you note from the commentary there, Mr Chairman, actually there's not too much which has changed from the bill that arrived at committee, and in fact, and I'll talk about submitters in a minute, but on the whole most of submitters were in favour, and in fact many of the submitters actually thought the bill should have gone even further to what is now in the bill before us. Mr Chairman, the major changes, as you see in the commentary there, we just clarified ownership because the circumstances we replaced having custody of with owning of or exercising authority in respect of animals, because there was many examples made on the farm, someone's looking after some animals, a share milker who actually had legal ownership, etc. So all these issues were raised and considered by the committee, submitters and officials, and we came to the recommendation of change we have there in the bill before us. Also, the increased penalties for contravention of a disqualification order. It's been a long week. But particularly the forfeiture of animals, which I'd like to talk about a little bit, because one of the submitters, we had a lot of support, well, the bill had a lot of support from the legal fraternity, and I acknowledge many of them had offered their services pro bono to help set some of the first the precedents, the first cases that may come under this new bill. But the forfeiture side did raise some interesting issues in that how and when something was forfeited, actually some questions such as almost guilt before innocence or guilt before proven charges started to come out of our discussions, because if an animal was in danger, it was taken away from someone, which was, from an animal cruelty point of view, that's absolutely fine. But actually from a due process point of view, questions and discussions were had and around, well, actually, hold on here, of course the animal should be taken away because it's in danger and perhaps other animals could be, but actually by the time that case became before the courts, what would be happening to that animal, and because it's taken away, did it imply some kind of guilt or otherwise, Mr Chairman? Mr Chairman, we had quite a few submitters, and as I said earlier, on the whole they were very supportive of the bill, and as I said again, many of them actually wanted to go a fair bit further. But I acknowledge the Auckland SPCA and other SPCAs, they tended to have the same message, but there was good strength in the message that they gave to the committee and the suggestions that they made. I mean, they wanted a single ill-treatment offence, Mr Chairman, and they agreed with that. They wanted animal abuse, a registry to be set up. Now that's quite interesting and something of further consideration as this bill plays out once it's enacted, Mr Chair, because we all heard horror stories of many of those that have been, yes indeed, horrible stories that those that have been convicted or suspected of animal cruelty, actually there's a whole lot more going on in their lives, unfortunately impacting potentially on families, children and their community, and a key indicator was actually their cruelty to animals. It was quite a revelation, I think, to many on the committee and some of the examples that were given to us. Dairy New Zealand, Mr Chair, Federated Farmers also made a submission, as you'd expect, and brought in interesting and fair perspectives from the rural sector, from on-farm, because often the animal welfare issues are often seen from a city-urban environment, meeting the kind of sometimes the reality of a rural environment, and sometimes issues happen out there on the farm, down the back, in a drought situation, where with the best of intent, no cruelty has been intended, but making sure that everything's been done to avoid cruelty to animals, and so sometimes there are circumstances beyond the custodian person's control or the owner's control that can result in some kind of cruelty. So there were exceptions made there, and Federated Farmers made those points particularly well, Mr Chairman. As I noted, the New Zealand Law Society, many of their members often... Thank you, Mr Chairman.
I call Sue Kinsley.